What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Nickel City Rush Hour Sunday edition. We are on the eve of the start of free agency, known as what? The legal tampering period, where teams can start speaking with free agents from rival teams. Teams can then start signing players when the new league starts. And when is that? This Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, March 12th. It's going to get crazy over the next few days. One of the most exciting off-season times, if you're an NFL fan, and we're going to be getting into a lot of talks about free agent targets for not only the Buffalo Bills, but we got a special guest tonight coming back to us, like our good friend Keith Billy, Finns fan from the Finns Forecast. How you doing, sir? It's been a long time.
It's great to be back, Mike. It's great to be back with you guys. I love doing shows with you guys. Even though you're Bills fans, you're my favorite Bills fans out there.
That's what I
um,
say. That's what I say about your channel, man. I love your channel. Talk to the folks. Like, you have an amazing group of guys. I
yeah,
love listening to you. You're the only non-Bills channel that I listen to, and mostly because you're my friend. But I love what you guys bring, and you have the best segment in sports entertainment, known
yes,
as Game Balls and Jock Straps. Talk to us about your channel, my friend.
yeah. So we just started the beginning of last season, and yeah, we do game balls and jock straps, which is we go through the entire game and we give a guy a game ball, guy who was a standout guy, and we give a guy a jockstrap, guy who did not perform up to expectations, and we have a little pink jockstrap sitting up there for him, and
It's
but
awesome.
yeah, we're enjoying it. We're enjoying it. We're looking forward to collaborating with you guys over the next few months, going into the season, and look, if you guys. We're Dolphin, I know this is a Bills show and we're a Dolphin show, but I like what we bring. I like what the guys on my channel bring. Just like you guys. We're all football junkies. We just love talking football.
Yeah, it's a great show. And if again, they're in down in our on our homepage there, we have these awesome channel links. They are definitely one of them. So go check them out. Subscribe if you haven't already. It's good. Like Jake, it's fun to learn about our division rivals. And that's another reason I
Always.
listen to them. I'm always like, can I get Jake some information to go walk over to One Bills Drive and drop some information from the Chiefs? I'm sorry, from the Finns. And yeah, they bring some good stuff.
You ain't
Uh,
kidding, Mike. Yeah, it's great. Keith, you've done a tremendous job. By the way, look at the merch he's got going on
Yeah.
here.
yeah,
Yep.
Where can we get this stuff, Keith?
I will send Mike a link, but there we actually have a Josh is going to kill me because he's the one that put this together. He had we have a page for it though. We have a page where you can get all the merch and stuff like that, stickers, magnets, apparel, just like what Jake's wearing with the Nickel City Mafia apparel. Uh, yeah, we got that going pretty early, and I love it. I love our logo. I love what we're doing as
yeah.
far as all that goes.
Yeah,
Hell yeah,
congrats. I
man.
mean, you guys have hit the 100 sub mark, which is the toughest one to get. And then from there, it just starts to skyrocket. So good luck and congratulations, guys,
Thank you, thank you.
to your whole crew there, man. Fantastic. Want to say hi to some folks out there. Track reviewer, as always, coming in saying, cut Cam. You can't cut Cam, Jake, right? We can't. We need this man. He's so important to this team. Let's stop. Let's stop talking about that. Weston, good to see you, sir. I'm glad you're out joining us. Man, Weston, he's been bringing the information in our Discord just all every day. I mean, I don't
Oh
think the
yeah.
man sleeps. I don't think he sleeps. But he's
Weston's
bringing,
getting out
yeah,
the information faster than Shefty. I mean, he's
right.
getting
He
Yeah.
is.
the notifications and updates from Shefty, but I think he's firing it off just as fast, if not faster. I don't know what's going on,
I
but
don't know.
guy's
Jake,
on it. He's
Jake,
dialed.
it's gotten to the point where I don't even check my sports app feeds anymore. I just go straight to Discord and see what
Yeah,
Wes is
Oh,
bringing.
right.
I know.
It's so true.
Seriously. Insider.
Uh, yeah. So Weston, yeah, a lot going on this weekend, not only for the Bills but the league in general. And I'm sure Keith can fill us in on some stuff going on that I'm not going to mention. But man, a lot been going on. Jake always says this: the NFL never sleeps. And my goodness, what a weekend! Let's see here. We got Big L out there. He's like, "Yes, glad you're back, Keith.
Glad
Yes,
to
of
be back,
course."
Al.
And then Chad, great to see you out there, Chad. Welcome. How you doing, sir? Good to see you as always. And then Cody. Hell of a free agency eve today. So let's get into some news, guys. I mean, this is this. Oh, we got Steve Noble. He says, "Pumped! I am free to watch tonight." Yes, let's go, Steve. Good to see you out
Love it,
there.
Steve.
All right, so let's talk about some of the big news. First of all, I'll just cover some Bills news that happened over this past weekend. Khalil Shakir signs a 4-year extension, 53 million, 31.8 million guaranteed. Love that. Von Miller, interesting move here. So Von could have been. We knew he was going to be released. It's no surprise. But Jake, I was actually thinking they would do a post June 1st release, which would have saved us 17 million, but they did it pre June 1st, which saves us 8.6 million. And that makes you think something's happening, right?
Sure does. Yeah. I mean, we only have 3 defensive ends on the roster right now, Mike. So I feel like, you could wait until that post June 1st cut period where he would then free up way more money than what he frees up now. So to me, I don't want to get my hopes up too high because I feel like every time I think something's going to happen, it doesn't happen, or it's something totally different than I thought. But the fact that they went ahead, and I don't want to foreshadow or jump ahead too much, but if you haven't heard the news by now, you're living under a rock. But also Josh Allen restructured too, re-signed, or should I say, tore up his old contract, did a new extension to then also free up $11 more million, giving the Bills roughly 20 to 25-ish to spend in free agency or possibly to use on a trade. So, yeah, it starts to make me feel like, something's in the works. And, I was specifically looking at the defensive end room, and it looks like there's only 3 active players, on the roster as we speak.
Yeah. So Josh Allen, as you said, the numbers 6-year extension, 330 million, 250 million guaranteed. Terrell Bernard, inside linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, 4-year extension, 50 million, 25.2 million guaranteed. Reed Ferguson, 4-year extension. Jake's guy. Jake, he doesn't make enough apparently because they don't even like throw out the numbers. I don't have numbers for him, so they
4
don't want
years,
to put this.
$6.5 million, I think it was.
Is that what it is? Okay,
Not bad. Not bad.
Spotrac didn't even have that yet, which was funny to me. And then Gregory Rousseau, 4-year extension, 80 million. And I forget what the I didn't capture what the guarantee was, but it was quite a bit as well.
It's 50 something, 54
Yeah.
maybe, 54 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to say the Reed Ferguson thing was hilarious because Shefty did tweet out that Reed Ferguson was re-signing with the Buffalo Bills, and then Reed reposted it and said, basically something along the lines of like, hey, you made it once Shefty tweets out, he got re-signed by a team. So that's pretty cool. Longest tenure Buffalo Bill for a reason. Love it.
Yeah. So Keith, before I go on to the other big news with some other players, anybody that your team has signed, re-signed?
Well, we did restructure Bradley Chubb, which was huge for us. Bradley Chubb, of course, didn't play for us at all last season. He was coming back from that ACL tear. And then, when the Dolphins were kind of, it was a middling kind of season. They were kind of limping through. I think at a certain point they just said to Bradley Chubb, you know what, just shut it down. We'll see you next year. But he was carrying like a $25 million cap hit for this season. And they restructured him, got that cap hit down 16 million. Now the Dolphins have $25 million to play with, going into free agency and the draft and everything. And that's notwithstanding some other moves like Teron Armstead. Teron Armstead took, what equates to a vet minimum deal to kind of hash out what his future is going to be. He doesn't know if he's going to be back with the Dolphins yet, but he's essentially kicking that money down the road and saying to the Dolphins, use that money while I figure things out. And then if I decide to come back, we'll work out a different contract. We'll work something out with it. But as far as re-signing guys, the Dolphins haven't really done much of that this offseason. Not yet. The Bills have been really active, insanely active. They've been re-signing their own guys. Mostly the Dolphins have been, we're going to get rid of guys like Durham Smythe, underperformers. Guys that probably wouldn't have been back anyway. It was funny. I saw a headline. It came up in my Google feed, and the Dolphins lost a weapon to the Chicago Bears, and I pulled it up and it's like, who did lose to the Chicago? It was Durham Smythe, their backup tight end. They lost to the Chicago Bears. Wouldn't exactly call him a weapon.
Yeah, sometimes the way media spins things is pretty funny. But there were some hearts broken. There were some hearts and dreams broken this weekend. We'll start with the big one, which is Miles Garrett. I think everybody wanted this man on their team. And it was like, sell out, do anything you can to bring Miles Garrett to your team. This is the guy that said he wanted to be traded. But in the end, it feels like money talks. And he gets a 4-year extension, $160 million, 122.8 million guaranteed. I'll start with you, Jake. What's your thoughts on this? Like, was it just a matter that no one could give what Cleveland was asking for? I don't know. What's your thoughts on this?
I don't know. I'm really struggling with it because I feel like if there was a good enough deal, they would have traded him. But right from the get-go, although Miles Garrett wanted to be traded, the ownership did not want that to happen. So maybe it just took a few weeks for them to kind of dot their I's, cross their T's, do whatever they had to do to make it happen. I know that they converted some of Deshaun Watson's salary to like a signing bonus or something along the lines of that. So, it sounded like in the background they were trying to make things work financially. And hard to pass up $40 million a year signing the biggest non-quarterback contract in NFL history. I mean, I feel like this just keeps resetting the market over and over again, specifically at the defensive end position. Max Crosby earlier in the week, and now Myles Garrett doing it here. And, good on the Browns for doing it. This guy has a stake in the Cleveland Cavaliers, ownership. He's a minority owner for them as well. So, like, he has roots in Cleveland. Like, I think he wanted to stay and retire as a Cleveland Brown. He had a quote saying from Cleveland to Canton. So this is a guy that wanted to be a Brown, but he didn't want to go through another rebuild. And the direction he is seeing the Browns take, a significant, back step, going from 10-7 or whatever with Joe Flacco at the helm to a 3-14 team this past year. It's tough to swallow, right? So to me, good on the Browns for getting the job done. I don't know if the Bills were really aggressive like we had heard, because we had heard that they were suitors for the Myles Garrett player here, but I just don't know how serious they actually were, if they did offer the 2 first-round picks, or if it was really just, hey, like, Myles Garrett, we're going to offer you this much money, and we're going to make sure that you're going to remain a Cleveland Brown. So who knows? We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But to our boy Sean's credit, no one did enough, and the Bills are one of those teams to entice them to at least consider an offer.
Yeah. Keith, what about you guys? I'm sure you were like, man, how can we get Miles over to our team? I'm sure, right? Is that a conversation?
Yeah. I mean, that's a conversation that you have, but also, the Dolphins, for what feels like forever, they're giving up draft picks for Tyreek Hill. They're giving up draft picks for Bradley Chubb. At a certain point, you have to just kind of stand pat, hang on to your draft picks, and say, you know what, we're going to sit this one out. But a team that I did hear was debating whether or not they're going to bring in Myles Garrett or try to bring in Myles Garrett was the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
That was all over sports talk radio for like 2 weeks here. But I think ultimately what you're looking at here is there are teams that are probably willing to pay the 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett. But then you have to turn around and pay him. Then you have to turn around and give him an extension. I don't know that he was ever going to make as much money with any other team than he was with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
And I think that was the deciding factor for him.
Yeah, that's a great point, Keith, because that is right. It's like, cool. We were talking last show. We'll give up a first round this year, a second round. We'll give up a first round next year. We'll even throw in a player, but then you got to pay the guy $40 million per year. And I don't think he was taking anything less, especially with what Max Crosby had got, like you said, Jake, just a few days before, earlier in the week, a 3-year extension, 106 million, 0.5 and 91.6 guaranteed. So yeah, it's a shame, but man, it got us excited. But I got to say, I was saying all along, it's probably a 5% chance. 5% chance. It probably should have been more like a 2% chance, but it is what it is. The only one out there is Hendrickson, right? What's the deal with him? Is he still available?
He's available, but he has just basically said today that he wants to remain a Bengal. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Although it sounds like he requested a trade, or maybe management was like, hey, you can go and explore the market, do what you got to do. We can find a suitable trade partner. But then today, apparently, he says he wants to remain a Bengal if possible. So who knows what's going on in Cincinnati? They are very, like, the way that organization works, I don't know what's going on. I mean, they just keep franchise tagging T. Higgins, and like the Jamar Chase thing, they are so far apart on a possible extension there, and God knows what's going to happen with Trey Hendrickson. So I would keep your eyes open for that one. I do think that if out of those three, he will be the guy that is probably traded or moved.
Yeah. He's I think the word you were searching for there, Jake, is dysfunctional.
Yeah, very dysfunctional.
The Bengals are just dysfunctional. You know, they pay Joe Burrow and they don't bring anybody in to protect him. They give Jamar Chase, they throw Jamar Chase a bone last season, and then now they're looking at potentially letting him go. T. Higgins getting another franchise tag. He can't be happy. In a certain point, you have to start paying your guys, a la what the Buffalo Bills did today. You know, that's the sign of a strong organization. You go out there, okay, Greg Rousseau, thanks for everything you've done. You're getting paid. You know, even Reed Ferguson, thanks for everything you've done for the organization. You know what? We're giving you an extension. Josh Allen, the Bengals, you know, T. Higgins, franchise tag. Jamar Chase, we'll give you a ho-hum raise, and then you go out and you win the wide receiver triple crown. Yeah. And you know, it's dysfunctional up in Cincinnati, and you don't really know what's coming from. You know, Myles Garrett wanted a trade. Myles Garrett wanted out of Cleveland, and all of a sudden he signed an extension. Trey Hendrickson, he wanted a trade. Now all of a sudden he wants to stay in Cincinnati. I can't make heads or tails of what these guys are doing.
Right, I'm so with you there.
Bizarre. By the way, the Bengals are like the only team. I think they were the last remaining team to not have an indoor practice facility. So this is what we're coming from. I think they finally got that, but it took, you know, God knows how long for them to make it happen and to make that a more attractive place for a free agent to even want to come. Yeah. You know, this is not trying to, I'm not trying to crap on the Bengals. I have a lot of respect for them. I know our Chiefs fans, our Chiefs friends probably do not. I know there's some bad blood between those two franchises, but I'll tell you what, they have the team. You just gotta, I don't know what's going on. It doesn't make any sense. And like you said, Keith, dysfunctional is probably the best term for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, if you're new to the channel, I always forget to say this, please hit that like button. Take a second right now. Everyone out there in the chat, take a second and smash that like button. And drop a nickel on that subscribe button for us. It's not really a nickel, but it's just the thing I say. It's absolutely free. So drop a nickel, subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. We couldn't do this without you. We're on our way. We're trying to get to those 2,000 subs, Jake. On a little bit of a, stuck a little bit right where we are. But we're close. We're close. We're going to hit it soon. So
nice.
Other news, DK Metcalf, another guy. Oh man, a lot of teams would have loved to have him, but he is traded to the Steelers for a 2025 second-round pick, and the Steelers are signing him to a 4-year, $132 million extension. Big money, big money. Who's going to throw to him over there? Who's going to throw to him in Pittsburgh?
All I got to say is he had his best year with Russell Wilson as the quarterback. So it would make sense to maybe bring him back. But I have heard, Aaron Rodgers. I've heard them going back and bringing, what's his name, Justin Fields back. And just so many different names thrown out there. Sam Darnold was another name thrown out there too. So I don't know what they're going to do there. But to me, it would make sense to probably bring back Russ on a team-friendly deal. And you can still go get a quarterback too in addition to that. But, I mean, this is an opportunity here to reunite a quarterback and a receiver that had a great year together, a great couple of years together in Seattle.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense, Jake. And I always thought it made the most sense for Russell Wilson to go back to Pittsburgh. You know, he kind of had somewhat of a career renaissance with Pittsburgh last year. Brought him to the playoffs. He, at times, at certain points in the season, he kind of looked like the old Russ. He was chipping that rust off. I think he's still young enough to make an impact there. And now you bring in DK Metcalf. You have George Pickens already, Pat Freiermuth, Jalen Warren at running back. This is a team that's ready to win. So bringing in a young, unproven quarterback, you need a Russell Wilson or a Sam Darnold or even an Aaron Rodgers.
Right. I love the memes going around right now because you have George Pickens who wears number 14 and DK Metcalf who wears number 14. The best meme I've seen is the scene out of Step Brothers when, the two, Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly meet and they're like odds and odds, at both sides of the front yard and absolutely hilarious. Would love to see how that goes down. We need to live stream it for sure.
Absolutely.
Make it happen. Yes.
For sure. Let's see, and then Devontae Adams going to the Rams for a 2-year, $46 million deal, 26 million guaranteed. He's not the speed burner anymore, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, the Rams, they lost. I don't know what the deal is. Cooper Cup, he's free agent. No one signed him yet. Hopefully, Buffalo Bills make a call. But what do you guys think of that? What do you think signing to the Rams? Good move for the Rams, bad move? I'll start with you, Keith.
I think it's a good move. I think it's a solid move for the Rams. I think Devontae still has some juice left, and I think the reason they've let go of Cooper Cup in the first place is that I think injuries are taking their toll there, and I don't think he's getting the separation that he once did. And that was kind of his whole thing. He was a great route runner. He was great at separation, and now he's not getting that. Whereas Devontae, he still has some juice left. And I think he showed that with New York last year. That was a whole dysfunctional situation with the Jets last year, but I think Devontae showed that he can still play a little bit. And pair him with Matthew Stafford, that could be fun to watch, guys.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk dysfunctional. I mean, look at the New York Jets. And
Yeah.
I don't want to throw too much shade. No division rival. Hey, you're a home or whatever. But come on.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jets, right?
We have eyes, Jake.
yes. Devontae Adams, man. Like, I was talking about him as a top 5 receiver maybe a year and a half ago. Like, this guy can still ball. Still did some really impressive things in New York. I know it was just a weird type of season, but he had several 100-yard games this year. I think he still got his 1,000 yards in total on the year. Still a great weapon. And I think it's a great move to go to LA where he could potentially compete for a Super Bowl. I mean, the NFC, I feel like, is still open. The Eagles they're the team, but the Rams were this close to beating that Eagles team. And had they had Devontae Adams in that game, maybe things change, So you got Matt Stafford, who, in my opinion, I think is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Very tremendously underrated throughout his entire career. Still can sling it with the best of them. So I think it's an upgrade for him at the quarterback position. It's an upgrade for him as a full-on culture. I mean, Sean McVay is probably licking his chops. You got Puka Nacua and him and DeMarcus Cuckoo Robinson, who I think is actually a free agent, so never mind. But they did re-sign Tutu Atwell. So they got some nice pieces there. So good on them. I like the move.
Definitely. That's all the big news I have. What did I miss, guys? What did I miss? Anything?
Well, Nick Bolton went back to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of re-signings. A lot of guys that are just kind of going back. One thing that affected me greatly was the Chiefs actually franchised Trey Smith. And it kind of goes into, and we're going to talk about, interior offensive line, I'm sure, during the show, but it kind of goes into how teams are viewing guards nowadays, because this is only the 7th time that a guard has ever been franchise tagged in NFL history. When the Chiefs franchise tagged Trey Smith, who's probably a top 5 guard, probably a top 3 guard in the NFL.
For sure.
Yeah. So the Chiefs are out there making moves. So, you Bills fans out there, this is who you're trying to beat, the Kansas City Chiefs. So they're going out there, they're re-signing their guys, same as you guys are. It's kind of fun to see 2 non-dysfunctional organizations do their thing.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. The Joe Thuney thing was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that whatsoever. I mean, I felt like it was a natural move for you guys to just kick him back inside, then go draft your left tackle, So definitely a little surprised about that. Speaking of left tackles, Ronnie Stanley just re-signed with the Ravens, so he's off the market too. 3 years, I think $60 million for him. So, one of the better left tackles in football. Great move by the Ravens to bring him back. But I'm sure that was a guy. Well, I don't know if tackle's really the position. You're more interior, probably, Keith. But definitely a guy to still keep your eye on it, just as a football fan in general. I mean, one of the better tackles in the league.
Gino to the Raiders. That's another good one, Cody.
Yeah.
And him and Pete Carroll have a great relationship together. I was watching because I can't stop watching football. I was watching a Bucs Seahawks game from 2019 earlier. Russell Wilson was still with the Seahawks. He was the starter, but the team captain of the Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith.
Hell yeah.
So him and Pete Carroll have a pretty special relationship. That's an intriguing move by the Raiders, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this. The guy who has maybe the only framed Dare Ogunbowale jersey in the country outside of maybe his family. Absolutely love the move. I'm waiting on hearing the news that the Bills re-signed Ty Johnson because you got yourself an every down back, every type of back. You know, this guy kicks field goals and whatnot. Ty Johnson, very similar. I don't know if he kicks field goals, but the dude does everything. He plays specials. He's Josh Allen says best third down back in football. Runs the ball extremely effectively. Yards per carry through the roof. Let's make it happen. What are we waiting for?
Totally agree, Jake. I love Ty Johnson. And then who knows with what's going on with James Cook, right? We're still, we'll see. We'll see how that goes down.
Yep.
All right, guys. So this is how the show is going to work. We obviously have needs, some free agent targets, as you heard earlier in the show. Buffalo has about 20 million right now to shop with, but keep in mind that's not just for free agents. You got to sign your draft picks as well. You got to keep some spare change around as well in case somebody frees up, someone's released later on. You want to sign them. So, and I think the Finns, I think you were saying, Keith, around 25 million.
Yeah.
So as we're going into this conversation, keep that in mind. And we're not going to cover all positions, but we're going to cover most. And if you think there's a position we should cover for the Buffalo Bills or the Finns, let us know in the chat. But we're going to start with defensive tackles. We're going to start with the big guys, which is crucial. We all saw the blueprint of what the Eagles did, right? Not only on the edge. We're going to talk about edge rushers next, but the defensive tackles just huge. The blueprint was laid in the Super Bowl, and Buffalo really does need a one tech or somebody, just a big dude in the middle to go along with Ed Oliver. So we're going to start there. I'm sure, Keith, you guys have some guys in mind as well. But Jake, why don't you go ahead and start? I'm going to go last. I've got guys, but I want to see what you guys are shopping with here, or who you shopping for.
It's so tough. I mean, here's the thing. I feel like a lot of the really good defensive tackles that are, I guess, viable to look into that are on the market right now are all dudes that are more three techs than one tech. So while I'm like super fired up that Jonathan Allen is available and a guy that actually I wanted the Bills to go after years ago, to me, it doesn't excite me as much because what we truly need at the end of the day is a one tech to play next to Eddie Oliver. We have a guy in Eddie Oliver and Dwayne Carter who play the three tech pretty effectively. They can interchange in and out, right? So for one techs, there's not a lot out there. There's slim pickings. I mean, freaking Poona Ford's on the market, Mike. I don't know if we want to bring him back. Probably not. Didn't really work out too well. But if we're talking strictly defensive tackles and a guy that could, come in and still play and be effective. I mean, Jonathan Allen is a name that sticks out to me, of course. Milton Williams was also on the market too from Philly. Maybe I think he's listed as like the top free agent available on NFL.com right now. But again, I mean, this guy's 6'3", 290. He plays at Ed Oliver's size, and he's not the position that we really need. So I didn't want to not mention him, but that is probably the biggest name right now outside of like Jonathan Allen and some others. But this is a guy that's going to demand some money for sure. I feel like right now where we're at, we need to get a guy with some size. And honestly, Mike, I would rather go through the draft to get a guy, to play the one tech, and maybe even you talk about freeing up some cap space. There's a name out there that I know has been floated around, just sort of like rumors and stuff like that. But Dexter Lawrence from the New York Football Giants. Joe Shane has a relationship with the Buffalo Bills. I mean, maybe we can make something happen there. That is a guy I would not mind trading for. That's a dude that can come in right away. Not many nose tackles going to get you 9 sacks and play the run and be an every down nose tackle. So would absolutely love to do something like that. I know it's not free agent related, but that's what I got for you.
I gotcha. Yeah, I sort of agree with you. Like a lot of the things you're gonna hear from me is like these are just filler pieces, but they're good. I mean, they're good, but you're gonna have to get that game changer. I don't think there's really a game changer that we can afford. I think one of the gentlemen you mentioned was Milton, right? Milton Williams. PFF, according to PFF, and I'm sure Spot Track's similar. They're projecting a 3-year, $21 million contract. So there goes our budget. We're donezo. Probably not going to make that happen whatsoever. But Keith, throwing it to you. Got some guys? You got some eyes on some guys there?
I do, but like you guys were saying, there's no real game changers on this free agent market this year. Milton Williams is a good piece, but I think his value is being overinflated by the fact that he played next to probably the most dominant defensive tackle in the NFL and Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
You have, and he was also splitting time with the other defensive tackle there,
Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis, yes.
Yep.
Jordan Davis, and last year he split time with Fletcher Cox. He's always had, a lot of breathers, a lot of guys, a lot of space eaters next to him to kind of glom off of, and he was a beneficiary of that. So, I look at the what's defensive tackles that I want the Dolphins to sign because they do need one. Their starter right now, Calais Campbell, is a free agent, 38 years old, and wouldn't mind seeing them bring him back. Honestly, he was a great locker room guy for the Dolphins last year. As the season progressed, with Calais Campbell, there were talks that maybe the Dolphins would trade him to a contender so we could finally get a Super Bowl ring, and he said no. We're still mathematically in it. I want to stay. I want to see that. I want to play this thing out. And that's the kind of guy you want in that locker room. So when I look at the Dolphins, defensive tackle, I kind of want Calais Campbell back, and then you bring in another guy off the bargain bin.
Yeah,
it's amazing to be talking. Sorry, Mike. It is amazing just to be talking about this guy at 38 years of age.
Yeah.
And he's still balling, man. He just keeps himself in tremendous shape. Incredible leader, incredible person, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Future Hall of Famer in my estimation.
Absolutely.
So Keith, you mentioned him. I have him on my list too, but I have him over as a defensive end, so I didn't have him as a DT. Did he play defensive tackle mostly for you? Because I have him as mostly
interchangeable.
Play. Like he can play a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, he's interchangeable. I mean, you look at the Dolphins' defensive line last year, it was defensive tackle, maybe a third defensive tackle, and then two edge rushers. And that's, are they outside linebackers? Are they defensive ends? I'll let you decide. But for Calais Campbell, he's defensive end, defensive tackle. What the Dolphins need more than anything are just guys that can line up inside of those edge rushers that the Dolphins have and play the run, disrupting the passing game. Right now, Zach Sealer looks to be one of their only defensive tackles under contract.
Yeah, so he's a guy I want. He's been elite for years. He's the ageless wonder. I mean, they've got him projected for a 1 year, $3 million. Why would you not sign this guy? The advantage the Bills have, they got a better opportunity to win the bowl.
That's true.
Keith, I'm just saying right now.
Hey, no, it's absolutely true.
No, but I think he's a guy. I'm picking this guy up.
He's also a guy that you can trust to go right into a locker room and just gel immediately with everybody in there. He's that kind of dude. He did that in Miami. He did it in Atlanta before. He did it with Baltimore. He's been all over the league. This guy knows how to just fit right into a locker room. So he'd be a great fit for the Bills. Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, get him on the cheap. I want him. I'm down for it. We'll have a tug of war, see who can win this battle. But it's gonna be interesting. He had 616 snaps last year.
Yep.
The guy is, and that's been consistent for him. PFF rankings over the past, and this has just been most of his career, but just in the last 3 years. 2022, they rate him as 76.9. 2023 and 80. 2024, even better, 82.3. These are elite numbers for a man that age. And now he's admittedly said he's lost a step, but the strength is still there. The dude, oh my goodness, so strong. So he's definitely a guy. Good choice there, Keith, for sure. On the defense, so for me, again, I'm bargain chopping here. I'm not looking for a real game changer, but somebody could help. Yes, Poona Ford was on my list. I only have 3. He's on the lower list, and he had an elite year last year. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe Joey Bosa helping him out there, but he was like a PFF darling, 85 point something. But again, the fact that he did not perform with Buffalo, I don't know what happened there. So for me, I got 2 guys. I got BJ Hill from Cincy, 6'3", 311. He'd probably, of the 3, he's the most expensive one that I'm bringing up. He probably would cost about $10 million a year. And then I have, I don't know, I have some love for the Charger guys this year. I've got Tier Tart, also from the LA Chargers. Another 1 year guy. Bring him in. Bring Campbell in. Bring Tart in. between the two of them, $6 million. I'm good. Let's bring him in. Just good rotational pieces. Maybe Campbell's going to say, hell no, I'm not no rotational piece. I'm starting.
Yeah, well, I will say this. One thing that just happened recently, Malik Collins was cut by the San Francisco 49ers. That's a guy, too, still more of a 3-tech, I think, than a 1-tech. I think he definitely played more in the B gap this year for them. But they have a unique defense as it is, but a little bit of a bigger body, 6'2", 3-something. So another interesting name to keep your eye on, too. Had a pretty good year last year. I think he had like 5 sacks for the 49ers. So solid player. I think he's going to be 30, though. So definitely, on his way out. But still a good formidable player. Good.
I don't know, Jake. When Calais Campbell was 30, he was just getting warmed up.
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah. Tier Tart, that's an interesting name too, Mike. I know Cody knows a little something about that guy. Didn't do a whole lot in Houston. I think he had a season-ending injury there. But every time he seemed to play against the Buffalo Bills when he was with the Titans, seemed to stand out to me. So that was definitely a name I was interested in a while back when he was a free agent his first time around. He's I think he was in Miami too, wasn't he, Keith?
So the Dolphins signed him to a free agency contract last offseason and cut him during training camp.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It was weird. It was weird how that all went down, and they didn't really say much about it either. Just like, we're cutting Tart, and that's it. And he went and signed with the Chargers and had a decent season for them. I'll go to my grave not knowing exactly what happened there.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah.
Again, interesting on the cheap. I'm shopping with a budget right now. So, because like we said, there's really no game changers here. You're going to have to find this in the draft. Most of those game changers deals have been done with them already. So let's move over to the DN, defensive end / edge, however you want to call him. Campbell was on one of my lists, but I have a few others. But I'm not going to spoil it. There's a couple little guys out there that I think Jake's going to mention one of them. We'll see if he does. Let me throw it to you, Jake. Guys,
well, the number one guy I want, and maybe a player that we cleared some cap space for, is Josh Sweat. I am all about the Josh Sweat train. Go get this guy. Performed incredible in the Super Bowl. Knows how to play well in big games. Going to be 28 years old, I think, in a couple of weeks here. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, man. He looks great. He's fast. He's everything you need. He can get home. That's important. We need a guy that's going to be able to be on the field, can get home, and also a guy that we don't have to keep rotating in and out with. Like, I love AJ Epinesa, but we play musical chairs with our defensive ends way too much. I mean, you got to keep a guy on the field for more than 60% of the snaps. I feel like now, especially with the Greg Rousseau extension, it only gives us more ammo to then keep him on the field for 100% of the time. I think we're going to go into a different direction with this D-line. We want guys that are going to be out there and make an impact. And this is a guy, Josh Sweat, like I mentioned, who can come in and absolutely ball. Pro Bowl player, had 11 sacks a couple of years ago, 8 sacks last year. I know he's going to cost a little bit of money. I think the Spot Track has him projected at like $18 million a year. It's probably going to be more than that, honestly, just based on what Myles Garrett did, what Max Crosby did, and some of these other guys are going to probably get. But to me, I feel like that would be a great name to go after in free agency. Would fit the Buffalo Bills mantra and a guy that can get home. So I am here for Josh Sweat. I will pound my chest for that. That's the number one guy I want the Bills to target in free agency. So that's one. Number two, Khalil Mack. Now listen, he's 34 years old.
Yeah,
absolutely. As a man that knew Khalil Mack, no big deal. I worked with the University of Buffalo back in 2012 through 2014. I was, basically a student assistant there. Worked not alongside him, but I knew him, and the guy was just incredible. I got to watch his journey, rising from a projected 4th or 5th round pick to then becoming, a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Just a fantastic story. The dude is just incredible. He's a relentless football player. Just had a career high in sacks 2 years ago, and then this past year too. Very effective. Didn't put up the numbers that he put up in 2023, but the guy can still get after the quarterback and make things happen. And I think this is just going to fulfill the prophecy that the Bills probably should have done, a long time ago, 10 years ago. Instead of taking Sammy Watkins, we should have taken Khalil Mack. And I think we can right our wrongs by going ahead and getting a guy like this, put him on the field, allow him to just put up some numbers and teach Greg Rousseau. This is not a Von Miller signing to me. I know he's 34 years old. This guy is much more effective than Von Miller was at 34 years old. So I don't think you want to
absolutely.
get it twisted with that. I mean, he's not going to command a ton of money, I don't think. But this is a dude, it'll probably be about 8 million or so a season, in my opinion, and a guy that can come win a ring. So bring him back home to Buffalo. The other guy, Mike, I do want to mention Malcolm Kuntz, another former University of Buffalo Bull. Had a really good year in 2023 with the Raiders. Had 8 sacks. Had a season-ending injury last year, but looking to rejuvenate and do something special. Probably going to sign a bigger contract than maybe what he's even worth, just based on the market. But a dude to look into. But my thing with that is, to me, he's basically like AJ Epinesa or a rotational piece. I think he's a good player. I just don't see him as like that game changer like a Khalil Mack or like a Josh Sweat would be. So I'd put him at 3. And then just some other names. I know you mentioned Joey Bosa here, Advanced Hood Cleaning Solutions. Absolutely. My only thing with him is that the dude's just not available. He's not on the field. Like, he's so banged up. And while he's a great player when he's healthy, I just haven't seen that same burst actually in the last maybe 3 years. I don't know if it's been I don't think he's played a full season of football in the last 3 seasons. So that's where I'm at with that one.
And just sorry, Keith. Real quick,
okay.
I had this comment up forever. And I want to forget about it. Trey Henderson, we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. He now has made it clear that he wants to stay with the Bengals. So go figure. Who knows? Would be great if you could get him, but I think he's going to also command upwards of $40 million. I think. I mean, that's probably what he's looking for. So my thoughts, based on what happened with the other 2 big guys out there, I don't think it happens at all.
I mean, I'd like it to happen. The guy had 2 back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. I mean, dude's a stud, but you're going to overpay for a 30-year-old. And that's, obviously I was vouching for Myles Garrett, who's 29. So what's the difference in a year? I'm not looking 7 years down the line. I'm looking for the next 2 to 3 years, because this is our window, right? So I would be okay with it. But is it going to happen? I just have a feeling it's not. I feel like it's just probably dead in the water.
Yeah, Jake, and the PFF has Khalil Mack as a 2-year, 22.5 per year, even at this age, because he's coming off of 2 elite years. He had 17 sacks in 2023.
Yeah,
it always seems like that first year he goes to a team. I remember we went to the Bears and he was just killing it. And then he goes last year, or he's been with the I think for the last 2 years he's been with the Chargers, I believe.
Yep.
And he had a 91.8 in 2023 and a 90.2. These are elite numbers. And then, but it's interesting. His sacks dropped from 17 to 6 last year. So I don't know what you can attribute that to. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe saying Bosa. If Bosa is injured, they can focus more on Max. So what do you think, Keith?
Well, that 17 sack season, Mike. I don't know if you guys remember. Like, I'm thinking like at least 7 or 8 of those sacks came in like 2 games.
Yeah. Like 6 in 1 game, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from 17.5 sacks is a heck of a number. And you know what, Jake? Khalil Mack should go to Buffalo. He should go back to Buffalo. He went to the University of Buffalo.
Bring him home.
I know you'd be pumped to see that happen.
Oh, I'd be so fired up, man.
Josh Sweat, you mentioned him. He's an interesting guy. He's probably going to get overpaid in free agency as well. But I love what he brings. I love what he brings to the table. Eagles fans are, they kind of they're resigned to the fact that he's not coming back, and they should be resigned to that fact. But as far as the Dolphins go, I don't really want any of these guys. I think who the Dolphins have in house, that's kind of I'm comfortable going with that going into the season. Bradley Chubb coming off of his injury, Jalen Phillips coming off of his injury, and of course Chop Robinson, who I panned the draft pick when it happened, of course, but he turned into an elite type of guy. So I think who the Dolphins have in house, for me personally, that's good enough for me. Going out and spending money on pretty much any of these guys, just money that the Dolphins can't really afford to spend in the first place.
Yeah, good stuff. So for me, I had obviously Mac and Sweat. I only brought them up because I knew Jake was going to bring them. Again, I'm bargain shopping. I'm bargain shopping. And again, just little filler pieces. Calais Campbell, we already talked about him. But I'm also looking at in Cody, Derek Barnett from Houston. He's had 2 elite years back to back, and he's about a 413 snap guy a season. Kind of like him, 6'5,
Yeah.
260. I'm sorry, not 6'5. He's 6'3, 259. I had 5 sacks last year with only 413 snaps. So a guy, again, a rotational piece. Would love to get him on the cheap. Just another filler. And I do agree with what John Robert is saying here. We kind of said that early. I feel like the big game changer you're looking for, you're gonna have to hit in the draft.
Yeah.
Gonna have to hit in the draft.
I hate that. I want a proven player. I know, like, it's a lot to ask for, especially given the situation. But don't you feel like maybe something's coming? And I know I said don't get your hopes up, but like we released Von Miller, and I know like it's Von, right? But we could have waited till post June 1st to cut him. You know, he plays the defensive end position. Like, are we going to go target a defensive end, a big name defensive end, whether it's via trade or signing? Is something happening there? Is something in the cards? And again, I don't want to get my hopes up, but we have 3 guys on the roster at that position, Mike. So we'll see.
You're right, Jake. I hear what you're saying because it was a $9 million savings by waiting till June 1st.
Yeah.
What are you in a hurry for? You got something in mind.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
Exactly.
With you.
And it is a very strong class of defensive ends this year. Like, this is a great year in general for the defensive line group. So, you know, there is a good point there that, you know, you could still get a guy at 30, even in the second round, that is a day one starter. So absolutely, I don't want to, you know, shy away from that, but I do want to shy away from it because we've tried this before. We've drafted Boogie Basham. We've drafted guys like AJ Epinesa, and I like AJ Epinesa a lot, but like, it's just, I don't know. It's not working. Even Greg Rousseau, he was 30th overall, right? Like, good player, but I want a guy. I want a Pro Bowl, All-Pro guy right away, day one. I know that's a lot to ask for, but that was a missing piece in that Chiefs game. And I'll tell you what, Greg Rousseau, as good as he is, he probably played his worst game of football in this last game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm optimistic about his future. I think it was a great re-sign, but like, pair him with someone else. Let's bring back what we did in 2014 with Jerry Hughes and Mario Williams. We had like 3 or 4 dudes with 10+ sacks that year. I would love to see that happen again.
Yeah, no thanks to that, Jake.
I mean, we didn't make the playoffs, but you know.
Hey, Jerry,
Tua already has injury problems.
Jerry Hughes is available, Jake. Jerry Hughes is available. Steve, yeah. I mean, look, I was very pleased with what we saw out of Javon Sullivan last year. And yeah, I think he takes another nice step forward this year. I mean, you could see he was getting in the backfield, just was doing a little Jerry Hughes, getting to the backfield, but not finishing the play. But I think you're going to see a nice step forward here. So I'm extremely excited about what we could see for Solomon this year.
What do you guys think about Chase Young? Here's a name that I kind of dabbled with too. Super young. He's only 25. He came into the league at like 20.
Yeah.
And he had a great rookie year, but since then, injuries and just like inconsistent play, I mean, it hasn't been in his favor, right? He's been on 3 different teams now, I believe. He was most recently with the Saints. But a name to maybe look out for. I feel like his career is just not over. Like, this is a guy that can maybe go somewhere. If it's the right place, he can ball out, you know, and we could probably get him for a relatively cheap contract.
Yeah, I mean, he was a former number 2 overall pick, and, you know, he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He looked like he was going to be the next Mario Williams, Jake.
Yeah.
And it just didn't pan out like that with all the injuries. And there's also been some character concerns there, some work ethic concerns regarding Chase Young. I don't know. I don't, you know, he's only 26. He'll be 26 before the start of the season. Yeah. So he's an intriguing guy, but he's not a guy that I would hand over a multi-year contract to. Like, the Saints gave him a 1-year, $12 million deal last year. That's kind of where I'm at with him again this year. He didn't really go out there and make me think, yeah, he's ready for a multi-year deal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, John Roberts saying Chase Young is possible. Sign him to 1 season.
Yeah.
I looked at him too.
But again, does he fall into that category of immediate game changer? I don't think he does. No. Like,
yeah, unless he regains his form somehow.
Right. Like, are we going to just play this game again where we go out and sign just a role player that we're just going to rotate with AJ Epinesa and Javon Solomon? And I don't want to give up on those guys. Like, I I really do like both of them. I love Javon Solomon. He was one of my favorite draft prospects of last year, let alone, the fact that the Bills draft him, I like him even more. And I think he has a lot of potential. I still think Epi has a lot of potential. Like, he flashes, especially against your Dolphins, Keith. I don't know what happens, but he freaking kills it every time he plays against the Finns.
Whenever he plays the Dolphins, he kills
it. So, I mean, those guys have the ability to play at a starter level, but consistency and, having a veteran that's done it and has been a Pro Bowler, I just would rather see that right now because that's what we're missing, truly.
Yeah, I was not going to go to safety yet, but I feel like a couple of people out on the chat have brought up safeties. John Roberts mentioned Javon Hollins, and we got the perfect guy on to talk about Javon Hollins here in a second. And then Ryan, thanks for joining the channel. Ryan, he's got Dante Fowler, Javon Holland, DJ Reed, Darius Slayton, and bring back Mac Hollins and Ty Johnson. Yeah, we talked about Ty already. Definitely got to get him back. When we get to wide receiver, spoiler alert, Mac Hollins is one of my guys. Bring this dude back. Please make the deal.
Absolutely.
But let's get into Javon Holland. So Javon Holland, from a safety perspective, is going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's going to be at least 4 years, maybe 19, 20 million a year. And let me throw it to you, Keith, because you're best suited for this. He's played for you guys. He's had some good years. But I feel like the last time I listened to your show, unless he was coming in at a friendly deal, you guys are ready to move on. So can you talk a little bit about Javon Hollins?
Yeah, we are kind of ready to move on from Javon Holland. And I didn't see myself saying that. Like, if you told me I was going to be saying that 2 years ago, I would have thought you were crazy because he looked like the second coming of Rashad Jones to me. Like this guy flew all over the field, making plays all over the place. It was great to see. And then he injured both of his knees. He sprained both of his MCLs in a game against the New York Jets at MetLife or at the Meadowlands last season, and he really hasn't been the same player since. He's kind of been somewhat of a malcontent as well. He he kind of kicked Vic Fangio when he was down as he was walking out the door. It's just not a good look, and he doesn't. For one thing, he doesn't seem like he wants to be back in Miami. And that's the biggest thing for me right there. Another thing to keep in mind is Mike McDaniel came out and said, when the Dolphins still had the chance to franchise Javon Holland, Mike McDaniel came out and said that Javon Holland has, quote unquote, earned the right to become a free agent. Well, the last time we heard Mike McDaniel say that was right before the Dolphins declined to franchise tag Christian Wilkins. Before Christian Wilkins, of course, signed with the Las Vegas Raiders. This just feels like these two sides just want to go their separate ways and move on. And it doesn't thrill me because, again, 2 years ago, Javon Holland was looking like, one of the best young safeties in the NFL. And I still think he can be. He's 25 years old. There's some great game tape on him. He's going to get a contract upwards of, he's probably going to get a contract around what you just said, like a 4-year, maybe, $80 million contract. And that's just not a contract the Dolphins can afford to give out right now. So this feels more and more like he's gone. And don't love it, but I'm not necessarily sad either because his play fell off a cliff this year. He was not the same Javon Holland this season.
You think that was because who he was paired up with? I mean, Jordan Poyer, I heard you guys talking about that he needs you kind of said for him to be successful, he needs to play with someone he can trust. And unfortunately, Jordan Poyer was released from the Buffalo Bills for a reason.
Yeah.
He was on the decline, right? And so
I'm fairly certain Jordan Poyer was a sleeper agent for you guys last year. Pretty sure you guys sent him to Miami to help implode our secondary.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, John, maybe he'd sign for cheaper, but how much cheaper? How much cheaper would he have to be for you to say, yeah, I want him?
I mean,
yeah.
If we can get him, at $15 million a year over 3 years, I would do that. But that's just not a contract he's going to take, and that's not a contract he's going to get. He's going to get a contract that makes him a top 5 paid safety in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I just don't see it for the Dolphins.
All right. So safety wise, Jake, your guy, you always talk about him. Harrison Smith 2.0. He's available out there, but
Yeah.
give me some safety because right now, here's the Buffalo Bills situation. Got our second round draft pick last year, Cole Bishop. Really started to play towards the end of the year, mostly because of injuries that happened to Demar and Rap. Like what I see from him, but he's probably going to be starting for us this year. We got Taylor Rapp, of course, but he's as you've seen, he's injury prone, so I don't expect a full season from him. Just haven't seen it yet. And then you got Cam Lewis back there. Now I love Cam Lewis. He can play safety. He can play corner. He's a little bit can play slot. He can play a little bit of everything. Of course, he's really good on specials as well. But I'm not comfortable with that, Jake. So is there some guys you got maybe we can get on the cheap that might just give us a security blanket there?
Not really on the cheap per se, but yeah, I mean, looking at this safety group right now, I mean, a name that maybe comes to mind is a guy like Julian Blackman. You know, I had some good seasons there in Indy, but I know he's been I think he's been banged up a little bit over the last few years, but just a really good player, a good veteran player. Elijah Molden from the Chargers, solid player, but again, a guy that's probably going to get paid a little bit more. The big thing is with him is just health too. Andre Cisco is another name from Jacksonville. But to me, I just, like safety, I don't even want to really look at because I feel like they're just, if we do go ahead and sign a guy, we're going to have to overpay him. And on top of that, they're going to cut into playing time of Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop. Listen, you know how these defensive players wind up in year two under the McDermott Bean regime, right? As a defensive minded guy. For whatever reason, it always seems to click that second year. I mean, you go back to like Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, or linebackers in particular, and how well they played their second year. I think the same thing's going to happen with Cole Bishop. We started to see that, turn the corner a little bit towards the end of the year. Now, I understand the concern with Taylor Rapp at safety and health and whatnot. I would rather go through the draft, though, if we're going to just get a guy. Justin Reed is a name that I really liked to potentially come here to Buffalo, especially because he was with the Chiefs. I don't think he's going back to KC. Weston and Chad, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't sound like he's going to probably re-sign with them. You were even saying Jaden Hicks was going to probably take over for him. So that would be a name I'd certainly be interested in, but then you got to look at him starting over one of those two guys. So to me,
also, what kind of contract do you see Justin Reed demanding there, Jake?
I don't know. It's going to be something major. That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, these safeties that are available are great names, but they're going to want a lot of money. Even Talanoa Hufanga too. Like that's another name. Jeremy Chin is a name. I do like that John Robert. I wanted him last year, but now I don't think he's 37. I think he's
27.
He's young. 27. Yeah. Curious to see what type of contract he would sign. That would be a good name. I would definitely consider that. But again, it's how much money you're willing to pay.
Yeah. We need a safety net. We do. I mean, again, someone's talking smack. John Roberts saying Cam's not locked in yet. Cam is locked in now. Maybe not a safety, but he's locked in for one of the 53-man roster spots. Let's stop talking about Cam Smith. Let's move on. Like, Keith, you have now. If Holland walks, who you got your eyes on? I mean, obviously you're probably targeting someone in the draft. But any of these free agents interest you?
Well, like Jake said, they all interest me. A guy like Justin Reed, of course, who wouldn't want a Justin Reed in their secondary? I wouldn't even mind, like I said, I wouldn't mind even having Javon Holland back or, Cameron Bynum or, Trevon Mooring. Like, these are all good names. These are all, names that I would like to see the Dolphins get, but there's only so much money to go around. The Dolphins drafted a guy in the 6th round, I believe, last year named Patrick McMorris. And he performed relatively well for them in the preseason. Then he got hurt, and his season kind of, his season kind of went off the rails from there. I think this is going to be an off season where the Dolphins shop in the bargain bin for safety. They can't really afford to pay any of these guys. So they're going to shop in the bargain bin. I do expect them to take a safety with one of their first 3 draft picks, though.
Okay, that makes sense.
Definitely.
Any guys you really got your eyes on?
Emin Wari.
Love that kid.
Yeah. He's I don't know how to pronounce his name just yet. I will. I haven't gotten into the draft coverage too much.
Okay.
I've seen Malachi Starks protected the Dolphins at their 13th pick. Don't hate it, but I need to see what they do in free agency before I sign off on a move like that. Because taking a safety in the first round, that's he better be a game changer. He better be unbelievable if you're going to take a safety in the first round.
Yeah. Agree. There was that the one we were talking about last week? When we were talking about the risers and fallers of the combine, there was a safety that is next level. I can't, and it was a
Nick Amawari. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He jumped 43-inch vertical, ran like
that dude is the guy
4.39.
you want. Is that who you were saying, Keith?
Yeah, that's who I was saying.
Okay. I kind of butchered his name, so I struggled.
Yeah.
With who you were saying, but
And
yes,
he to me feels like a strong safety. Like he feels like a guy who's going to play in the box, cover a tight end, and then he's kind of different from a Cameron Bynum who would be your center fielder.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you look, if the Dolphins take a guy like that and then sign a Cameron Bynum to a team friendly deal, I'm over the moon. I'm thrilled with that. Our safety room has now become a big strength of ours after being a major weakness for us last year. We're going to get into draft coverage, of course, as as time goes on. But Nick Emmanwori, like you said, Jake, he looks like a real player in the NFL.
I agree. I love what Steve says. I pronounce his name, Big Fast Freak.
Right, Steve. Yeah.
Love it. Okay,
he is.
Jake,
he's different, man. He really.
I'm
just gonna say 6'3", 220, Mike.
Yeah,
you gotta love that, dude, right?
I'm like, I would love to have him. I mean, but we just have some other needs, I think. But if he was there, you'd have to seriously consider, right?
Oh, I would. Yeah.
Right. So, Jake, what about Damar Hamlin? He's gonna be cheap. I mean, if you want that safety net, I'm just saying, want that safety net. He's not a starter, but he knows the system. Been okay, and he's cheap. Why not?
I would. I think I would. I depends on the price. Not super enthusiastic about it per se. I like Damar Hamlin. I don't.
He
I
feels
would
like a
rather
third
him
safety.
go get paid, Damar. Go somewhere, get paid, get your money. Because
they're only showing him at $3 million 1 year deal here on PF. That's what PFF's saying.
Wow.
So we're not talking big money, Jake. I don't know. I hope Damar does get all the money in the world. I have nothing but love for that guy, and that's why I'm saying,
same.
Why wouldn't you bring him back? If he's really only going to get that much, he's going to shop the market. But let's say he's not getting more than $3 million. No one's bringing in those offers, and the Bills say, "Hey, we'll throw in that." I mean,
he feels like a third safety to me. He feels like like John Roberts said, Damar for depth. That's what he is.
That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Safety net is all I'm talking about here.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
It's wild that he finished fourth for comeback player of the year this year and second last year to Joe Flacco. Just name the award after him at this point, please.
It's a crime.
Yeah.
Absolute crime.
Crazy.
Cut Cam Lewis and Damar. Come on, these guys. I can't take it anymore.
That's terrible, man.
All right.
Hold on, real quick. This is big.
Yes.
This is big time. Ryan Wright resigned.
Yeah.
In other news, Sam Martin released by the Buffalo Bills. We have Jake Camarda most likely being promoted from the practice squad to our starting punter. Georgia Bulldog Nation. There you go, Jake Camarda.
Gotcha. Okay. Punters important. Punters are important.
Absolutely.
Right.
Unless you're a team that just doesn't punt very often, and then what the heck. All right. So listen, we wide receiver. It's not for me. If we're taking a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, it's a failure for me. But I do feel we have 3 picks in the first 2 rounds, by the way, and I'm not looking at wide receiver at all, especially with the way the Bills, everyone eats. But we need a speedster. And again, I've already put this out there. He's not a speedster, but I love this dude, Mac Hollins. So that's one wide receiver. I'm definitely re-signing. Pay him the money, show him the money, whatever it is. It's not going to be that expensive, but he's definitely earned more than he's been getting. What a great year Mac Hollins put up last year. And the numbers, like he was our top receiving touchdown guy. That says a lot, right?
Crazy.
Everybody eats, but he's a great blocker. Just a good team guy. And he doesn't wear shoes. So he doesn't like to wear shoes. He wear bare feet in the damn snow. That alone wants me to re-sign this man. But I got another guy, but I'm gonna wait. And again, for me, it's just a pure speedster. That's all I want. So let me see. Let me throw it to you first, Jake. Wide receivers. Um, who maybe do you have your eyes on?
I liked what our friend Ryan mentioned, Darius Slayton, a name that's kind of fallen under the radar a little bit, kind of kicked to the side a little bit in New York, but a dude that has proven he can stretch the field and make some plays. You know, I actually like him a lot and would be pretty cheap, I feel like. So that's definitely a name. Honestly, I mean, I would not mind re-signing Amari Cooper. They have him listed as like a top 5 receiver in free agency right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, you know, a lot of people forget, like, this dude had 1,250 yards receiving in 2023. I don't think there's really that much of a drop off. I get it. Like, this year, he was more of a decoy than anything for the Buffalo Bills, but I don't think people also understand the significance of the wrist injury that he had. Supposedly, he was going to have season-ending injury or season-ending surgery for the wrist injury. So I feel like the lack of involvement on the offense was partially that, because you saw him in his first game here against the Titans, caught like 4 for 60 something and a tud, 4 for 66 and a touchdown. And he still did some good things. I think he had a pretty good game against the Rams and the Lions or whatever too. It was that Seahawks game though, when I think he got injured initially. So listen, Tony coming in already. I see it down there. Jake, don't do this. Cooper sucks. He does not. He is a pro's pro. He does not care about stats. He was out there distracting DBs and allowing the other guys to make plays. And I feel like he still played a part in this offense, even though he didn't put up the numbers we thought he was going to put up. It's all good, Tone. Re-sign him, get him on the cheap, team-friendly deal. I wouldn't mind it one bit.
Market has him.
Yeah, Amari's one of those. He's such a great deceptive route runner. When the Bills brought him in, I thought, man, you're looking at another Stephon Diggs here. You know, that's kind of what it felt like, and it didn't play out like that. But I think, you know, you go in like what John Roberts said, Amari with a full off season with Josh. That's a recipe for good things for the Buffalo Bills.
And you couldn't get a more different personality than Steph Diggs. Like, you went from Steph Diggs to a guy that doesn't talk at all. I mean, it was hard to get a word out of him.
Yeah, he is the opposite of a diva. This guy is just a true professional, goes out there, good route runner, good hands, and I think he can still play a little bit. Yeah. He may not be the 1,200 yard receiver that he was, but he can still, you know, maybe get you 8 or 900 yards, Jake.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What are you willing to pay though, Jake? I mean, because PFF has again market for him 2 years, $15 million a year. It's a lot of money for a guy that
I know that's tough. It's hard to justify because especially coming off the deal that we ended up, we fleeced Cleveland in that trade. I still feel like, I know the production wasn't there, but we only paid him like $1 million last year. So I'll take that all day. I'm okay with it. I'm not upset one bit. I feel like I can't pay him $15 million a year though. That's a lot of money. There are other positions that are needs on this team. So to me, I feel like it's got to be under 10 million.
Under 10.
Has to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, John? You know, you're pretty tight with the money. What are you thinking? What are you willing to spend on Amari to bring him back? And maybe, Jake, you said we opened up some money. Maybe we're just going to re-sign our guy. Well, we also have Russell Douglas.
I think our boy Sean would lose his mind.
Yeah, probably. All right, Keith, wide receivers that you guys might be looking at, if any.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another one where we're probably going to be looking towards the draft for wide receiver. But, you know, what the Dolphins lack really is a big-bodied wide receiver who can go up and win those 50-50 balls for you. You know, you guys need a speedster. The Dolphins have speedsters. They have a track team out there. They have Tyreek Hill still. They have Jalen Waddle. You know, they have Malik Washington, who had a nice rookie season for us. What we need is a big dude, a Mac Hollins type of guy who can go up and get those 50-50 balls. I loved Mac Hollins when he was with the Dolphins. Didn't want him to leave, and then he went to Buffalo of all places and started tearing it up. Love to see him come back, or a guy like him come to the Miami Dolphins. But again, this is not a position where I want the Dolphins to spend big money in free agency. There's a position where I want the Dolphins to go out there and spend some money. It's not receiver. And if we need to go to the draft to get a big bodied guy, a Higgins type of guy, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to spend a top, first, second, or third round draft pick on a guy like that.
Love it. So me, again, I'm on the cheap. I'm agreeing with you, Keith. Looking draft here. There's some speedsters in the draft with good size you can get in later rounds. If I was gonna go bargain shopping, which I'm known for, I'm gonna take a guy, and I think he's still available, and that's gonna be McCole Hardman from KC.
Ooh.
He's
Okay.
basically
All right.
on the cheap. I'm talking less than 2 million, and the dude runs a 4.33. There's my speed guy. Now I've seen him make some exciting plays. I don't think he lived up to what the Chiefs thought he was going to be, or I don't know. Weston's going to be mad at me for even speaking his name, but I don't know. There's a guy. I mean, hey, you tried it with Pat Mahomes. Come on over, try it with Josh. You've already got your rings. I'm sure he got one of the rings with Pat, but yeah, that's the guy I was thinking. Decent size, and again, speedster, burner, can make some plays.
Yeah, he's certainly a burner. He'll take the top off of defenses. That's, I mean, I didn't even think about him, Mike, but that's a low key. That could be a low key good signing for you guys. At the very least, he's a punt returner, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So, all right, well, cool. Do anyone else have it before we move on from receivers? Either of you guys, anyone else you want to talk about?
This is interesting, Weston. Saying Tyler Lockett maybe to the Chiefs. I mean, Kansas State guy, that actually make a lot of sense. I think his whole family played at Kansas State. His dad played there. Kevin Lockett played there. So, yeah, that'd be a match made in heaven for you guys. I hope it doesn't happen, but yeah, Tyler Lockett could still play. The only other name I thought of, but he's not really even a speed demon, but he's a big body guy who can make contested catches. I don't know if we want another one of those, but Joshua Palmer was an interesting name that came to mind.
Yeah.
I like what he did
Yeah.
in LA at times. He's like 6'2", 205, solid player. But again, I'm not running to go sign him.
Come right down to it, Jake. Another former Charger wide receiver, Mike Williams, another guy who can,
there you go.
catch those 50-50 balls. I looked at him too, but the price has to be right for these guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Palmer's not projected to be too bad. 2 years, 6.5 million per year. It's not too bad, and I agree with you, Jake. I did like what I saw from him. He's got 3 consecutive decent PFF in the above 65. Not bad.
Okay.
So Chad Hardman has 3 rings, I believe. All right, let's come on over to Buffalo. Let's get your 4th ring with the Buffalo Bills and be a part of something like it's never been done before, and that's a Super Bowl in Buffalo.
It's crazy, man. Crazy. Yeah.
All right. So somebody asked about, I love this question. Xavier Legette. Let's talk about Xavier Legette real quick. Xavier
Please.
Legette was Jake's guy. This was the guy he wanted. He didn't have really a killer year, but you got to look at who was throwing the ball to him. But Xavier Legette invited y'all to the cookout. Are you eating that main course of possum?
Absolutely. That's my boy. Listen, I'm a South Carolina Gamecocks fan, right? I was clamoring to the world how much I wanted Xavier Legette to be a Buffalo Bill. And then when you hear the interviews, I had heard his interviews. I watched some like freshman project that he did or something because like that's how obsessed I was with this guy. I was watching some freshman presentation project and I'm like, man, right away, this is the guy. I freaking love the Southern twang. He is like deep country woods, like that is him. And he is authentically himself. And it just made me love him even more. Absolutely, B-Bake. I'm doing it all day.
I can't understand that whenever I'm listening to
him. It's great, though. He's such a just a sweet human being, too. Like, means, like, that's just him, Like, he's just a good, wholehearted guy. Nothing to hate about him.
Athleticism's off the chart, man.
It really is. Yeah.
That's man. All right. Well, let's move on to the corners here. Corners, another concern for the Buffalo Bills. Christian Benford obviously is going to be back for the Bills. He's injury prone as well. And he had like 2 or 3 concussions last year, I think, Jake, alone. 2 of them coming back to back. Obviously, it looks like Kyrie Elam. I've heard rumors this past week that they're working on a trade with Carolina. Something popped up on social media. The guy removed it real quick, but from the Athletic, I was reading on the Athletic that seems to be a deal coming. Probably going to get some late round draft pick. Unfortunate for Kyer. I had a lot of hopes for him, but there's something behind the scenes we're not seeing. I don't know what it is, but he's just never. It appears to me just had a full shot. They made him inactive so many times last year. They bring him in when Benford gets hurt. Yes, he struggled, but what do you expect when you got this guy just inactive for so many weeks? And then, of course, Russell Douglas. There's a guy who could re-sign him. I mean, he's going to be looking at about 14 million per year as well. So corners, I got two, but I'll throw it to you, Keith, first. Some corners that you have your eyes on.
Yeah, the Dolphins signed Kendall Fuller last year to be the number 2 cornerback, and he was decent when he was playing. He was your prototypical number 2 cornerback. He's not going to embarrass you, but he wasn't a standout player either. That's kind of what the Dolphins are probably going to be looking for this season. Another Kendall Fuller type of guy. So again, we're going into the bargain bin a little bit. We're going to bring in a guy 28, 29 years old, maybe had some injury issues in the past, and we're going to try and squeeze the last bit of good football this guy has left in him. So, when I look at that, I look at a guy like maybe Jordan Lewis, a guy like maybe Stephon Gilmore. He's a little older than I would like, actually. Or, maybe even like a Julian Blackman type of guy. Julian Blackman plays out of slot primarily, but eventually the Dolphins are going to have to fix the cornerback room once and for all. I just don't think this is the season where they do it. Jalen Ramsey's still playing at a high level. He's going to be your number 1. And you just got to kind of bring in some stopgap guys, some guys who you can get on a cheaper 1-year deal and hope that they can carry you through the season. They also have guys who are undrafted free agents, guys like Storm Duck, greatest name in pro football. And he was thrown to the wolves a little bit last year, but he fared okay. He fought out there. A guy like Ethan Bonner, who's got all the athletic traits that you could possibly want in a cornerback. Doesn't look like Cam Smith's going to work out, Jake. Another South Carolina guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like he's going to pan out for the Dolphins, unfortunately. But I look at these cornerbacks, and I look at guys. I look at like a Carlton Davis and a Charvarius Ward. What kind of contract are they going to be? This is such a fun show to do, but it's also kind of a frustrating show to do because, you guys have 20 million in cap space. We have 25 million. So it'd be nice to say, yeah, sign Charvarius Ward, sign Carlton Davis, give him a mega deal. But we can't do that. We have to kind of temper our expectations a little bit and just say, you know what, let's hold off, sign a bargain basement guy, sign a guy off the bargain bin, and hope he pans out for you.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right, Keith. Yeah, and here's my thing. I'm treating corner basically the same way I treat defensive end. Like if you're not going to go out and sell out and try to get a guy, just build through the draft, honestly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, outside corner is so hard to fill. We are losing Rasul Douglas, who, he had a tough end of the year. I felt like he was a pretty good run defender, but he really struggled in coverage towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And for him to, 14 million, Mike, is what the spot track projection is right now. If we're going to have to go ahead and potentially re-sign him or sign another splash player such as a Charvarius Ward, Byron Murphy, or DJ Reed, I'd rather go that route, to be honest with you. I think Charvarius Ward, you talk about size, he's got good length. He's 6'1", like 200 pounds. Says he wants to get back on the East Coast because he says every time he goes to the West Coast, something bad happens. Feel awful for this guy. He's gone through a lot of tragedy, too, like personal tragedy.
Yeah.
But, it would be an interesting signing, too, because, you're talking about signing a former Chief. And listen, the Chiefs are the team to beat, right? So maybe go sign a guy that played for the Kansas City Chiefs that, knows a thing or two about playing against Pat Mahomes. Wouldn't mind that one bit.
Yeah. Can't beat him, join him, right, Jay?
That's right. That's right.
Rasul Douglas, you mentioned him. He's about to be 30 years old, and he did have coverage issues for you last year. Those
Yeah.
don't normally resolve themselves once you turn 30.
Yeah. Amen.
Rasul was never the fastest guy. He was always able to kind of get by being one of the smartest guys in the field and knowing how to play cornerback. But if a guy like that loses a step, you're going to see it, and you're going to see it quickly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. He had no interceptions. He was still good run defender. Made some nice. Was very good run defender. Made some nice tackle for losses when needed. But yeah, the coverage had definitely taken a drop. And I'm not saying I'm signing him, John, at all. As a matter of fact, I mean, if you look at the current situation for the Bills in the cornerback room, you got Taron Johnson, slot receiver. Kyer is still there, but again, I had said rumors are out there floating. Christian Benford, of course. You got Jamarcus Ingram, who did seem to get a lot of play last year due to the injuries. And that was the guy they were elevating over Kyer for many of the weeks that they made Kyer inactive. So kind of interesting. Yet, come the day of the playoffs, guess what? Kyer is active and not Jamarcus Ingram. So it was kind of a weird situation all around. We got Brandon Codrington, our punt returner, Takori Couch, and Daquan Hardy. Nothing special. A little bit of trouble there, and that's why I was hoping that the D line that makes everyone better around you. I just have one guy, and again on the cheap. I agree with you, Jake. There's like you said, Keith. It'd be great to say let's bring some of these top guys that are out there. I don't have the budget for it. I don't have the budget for it. So the only guy that I found, again, I'm budget shopping. I'm good at that. It was Christian Fulton from the Chargers. Kind of like him, 5'11" guy, 197 pounds. He runs a 4.46. It was a former second rounder. Now he got off to a rough start his first few years, but last year in LA really came back and did a fantastic job. So you can get him on the cheap. Again, let's see here. Projections for him. What am I seeing here? 2 years, 5.5 million, 5.75 million. I mean,
yeah,
that's
a good one.
And he played 827 snaps. PFF gave him a 68.9 overall. Pretty good. So there's a guy there. And of course, what a way in your contract year, if you're looking to have big money, put a year up like this. And this guy I could see, but that's kind of it.
Yeah. I like this actually by Steve, though, a guy that was just recently released by the Panthers, Dane Jackson, a guy that left the Buffalo Bills to go get a contract. I mean, would fit right back into the scheme. It hasn't changed that much since he's been here. Was very effective when he played here as a starter and a role player. So I wouldn't mind that one bit. I'm talking about a bargain guy potentially, Dane Jackson. I think out of those three that I named too, Mike, DJ Reed, Charvarius Ward, and Byron Murphy, I am more probably on team Byron Murphy out of all of those guys. Byron Murphy just had 6 interceptions this past year. Ball hawk, guy that's super good in coverage and young. I mean, I think he's 26, 27 years old. I know he's going to demand a lot of money, but I'd rather pay him, 18, 19 million a year instead of pay Rasul Douglas his projected 14 million a year. So that's just my 2 cents there.
Yeah, I agree there. I'm just looking here in the comments. Bill's Bunker, let's do something big. What are you thinking? You throw out this let's hear defensive end is an issue. Yeah, we talked about the defensive ends and some targets for that. And he says, give me one, Chris Godwin, Trey Hendrickson, or Javon Holland. All guys we talked about, except for Chris Godwin. And my goodness, Chris Godwin, that's going to be pricey.
Yeah.
Let's see here what projections are for him.
Only thing with him, too, is he's more of a slot guy. And we just re-upped Khalil Shakir. So as much as I love Chris Godwin, I wouldn't mind taking him, of course. I feel like,
he's been elite. 20 million a year, guys. Is
he's
what
having a year last year. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and he was having a really good year last year, as he has pretty much since he's coming into the NFL. And then that ugly injury that he suffered in garbage time.
Brutal.
What was it? Dislocated ankle, Jake? It was.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. And he didn't even need to be out there. That was the thing that killed me.
Horrible. Yeah, it was the Ravens game, wasn't it? I think
it was
when they were trying to come back or whatever. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. But they were down. I think they were down by 2 scores at that point.
Yeah, right. And there was no point
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was, but stupid,
Yeah.
stupid time to get injured. Yeah.
Exactly.
This is awesome, Chad. I wanted to bring this back up. Eddie George named head coach by Bowling Green. That's
Nice.
awesome, man. I know he was at Tennessee State before that. Not sure even how he did there, but that is really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to help recruiting. I mean, they got this kid, Harold Fannin, who's, the tight end who went for like 1,500 yards this past year, who is projected as like a mid-round pick. But, they got some up-and-coming players there. It's only going to help the talent. And by the way, I love myself some action, as a University of Buffalo grad. So absolutely love to see it. Beautiful.
Well, listen, guys, we got two more position groups we're going to cover real quick. I don't have anyone for this because I feel we're in very good position, and that's the O line.
Yeah.
And we're returning everyone from last year. I think we brought back Alex Anderson. We re-signed him. Who love that guy. He's fiery, likes to get under people's skin. So I feel we're in a good place there. Obviously, Keith, we're probably in the deeper rounds. Always looking for depth at all line. But you guys have a big need, and I know this was important to you, so I wanted to throw that out there for you. Some targets you might have.
Well, stop me if you've heard this one before. Keith wants offensive lineman for the Dolphins. It must be nice to have such great continuity with your offensive line. I'd really love to know what that feels like as a Dolphins fan. And going into this off season, that's what I'm looking for. So I've been saying we should shop in the bargain bin for this guy and that guy in this position and that position. This is the position where I want the Dolphins to spend their money. This is the position where I want them to go all in and bring in one or two guys that are going to be day one starters for the Dolphins and start all year and really start to turn this offensive line around. Last season, the Dolphins had Robert Jones as their one starter on the one side. I believe he ranked 114th, according to Pro Football Focus, out of 135. And Liam Eichenberg was even worse. He ranked in the 120s. It's just unacceptable guard play, especially when you have a quarterback in Tua who is injury prone, not particularly athletic, and not particularly big, not big enough to really see over a defensive tackle being pushed into his lap. So what the Dolphins really need here is they need a couple of guys either through the draft or free agency or both who are just going to solidify this thing and give Tua a pocket to throw from. The first guy I've really looked at here is Will Fries. He got injured last year. He finished the season on injured reserve, but prior to that, he was an ascending player. He was getting better every year. Love what this guy brings. Another guy is Tevin Jenkins, who was drafted as a tackle originally, moved inside the guard, and that's kind of where he found his calling. He's also another guy who's been injury prone, but I think these are two guys that, based on their injury history, maybe the Dolphins can get a little bit of a discount on them. It'd be nice. And another guy who moved, another guy who's a day one starter at tackle, moved inside. I like the way Mekhi Becton played for the Eagles a lot last year. He's huge, almost too big to be a guard in the NFL. But you know what? You're not moving this guy. If this guy wants to be in a spot, this guy wants you in a spot, you're not going anywhere. And that's what I loved about Mekhi Becton. He really solidified that Eagles offensive line, that right guard position. And, one or two or, just one of these guys, I'm happy. And then you go into the draft and you draft the other guy. But if you go out and you say you sign Will Fries, Tevin Jenkins, then you get to use the best player available approach in the first two rounds of the draft, which I really like. So this is a position that I'm super passionate about. I want them to bring in a couple of guards so badly to solidify this offensive line because they're honestly good at the tackle positions. They're good. They're good with Austin Jackson on the right side. They're good with either Teron Armstead or Patrick Paul on the left side. And Aaron Brewer had a nice season for them at center. So just get some guards, and this offense can really, hopefully, reach its full potential.
All right. Well, I wish you all the luck. Not too much luck, but all the luck. Thank you. I do want to talk. So we're talking on O-line. I wanted to talk about Deion Dawkins. So Deion Dawkins was making his way on all kinds of shows, on media outlets, and so I'm on a couple big ones. I forget the name of the shows, but trust me, he was out there pitching for the Bills to get Miles Garrett, which I loved. But obviously that's dead now. But the thing that he also is bringing, I think this is going to happen. He's been working on getting an award for the offensive line. It's much like the MVP. He wants an offensive line. These guys are so important to a team. They're paid well, but nobody. It's nothing sexy. Like nobody really talks about him when they should. And he's like, look, I want my children. I want them to see Daddy's got this award. And they asked him what would the award be. He said, the protector. I could see it being the guardian. And
Yeah.
they asked him, is this just for left tackles? Because that's typically considered the most important position on the line. He's like, no, I feel like, D line or the O line in general. And maybe there's a couple awards, but I'm with him on that one. There should be. Why not? Right?
The trenchies. I like that, Cody. Yeah.
The trenchies.
Sure.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So
I like it. I like where Deion Dawkins is coming from there. Maybe you give a position, maybe you give an award to a tackle, a guard, and a center.
Yeah.
One from each. Doesn't have to be a right guard or a left guard, just a general guard. Best guard in the league gets that award. I think that's pretty cool idea by Deion Dawkins.
I mean, college football does it, right? You might as well do it in the NFL. Yeah,
they do. Yeah,
make it happen.
The way he made it sound like it's close to being done. Now, I don't know if that's true, but first of all, he's gotten so much. I mean, he's always been a good speaker. I love him on these shows, and I wish I could tell you guys where to go. Give you the links. I could probably find it afterwards, but I was really impressed with what he was saying out there. And yeah, so let's see. Let's bring the awards for the trenches. Let's go.
They did do it on. That's right. They did do it on McAfee because AQ Shipley has it every week where he talks about it. Yeah, that's a good point, Cody. Yeah, I mean, just adapt that. NFL, adapt it, right? Yeah. Freaking love Deion Dawkins, by the way, man. He is making a press tour, and it's well deserved. He is just awesome.
He's got a future at ESPN, Jake.
Oh, for sure, without a doubt. Yeah.
He
did give some bulletin board material out. That's true, Weston, because he had mentioned had the Bills played in the Super Bowl, they would have given a better fight than the Chiefs.
Well,
I mean, it sounds like Chiefs set a high bar on that one.
Right.
Let's say you put the Chiefs and the Bills O-line out there. I think he was really speaking more so for his O-line. He was saying the O-line would have done a better job. And,
it's hard to argue with.
Yeah, it is hard to argue with. Not saying the whole team, Wesley. Just said the O-line, man. But, love Deion Dawkins. And he was really pitching hard for Garrett. He's like, look, we're getting, age creeping up on us, right? We want another game changer. Not only would it, be that game changer, but it'd make all of us better. Can you imagine going against Miles Garrett every day in practice? Kind of said that about Vaughn. But Miles Garrett now you're going against, everybody gets better. But actually, so that was kind of cool. Good to see him out there. You can catch him on many different shows, I'm sure. All right, last one for the night. And again, this is more for Keith. I don't know, maybe Jake, you had somebody lined up. I was level good linebacker, but Keith wants to look at some linebackers. So let's give him, throw it to you, and then Jake will throw it to you for any linebackers that you may be interested in.
Yeah, so linebacker is that's more of a position I want to go. I want to look at the draft at, like a guy like Jahad Campbell, who he's more of a pipe dream than anything else. But at linebacker, the Dolphins, they had Jordan Brooks come in last year, and he really solidified that middle linebacker position. Tyrell Dotson came in from, of course, you guys are familiar with him, and he played in Seattle last year. He came in, and he did some nice things for us as well. But I wouldn't mind seeing another guy come in and just, solidify things a little more. Nobody who's going to demand a contract like Nick Bolton, nobody who's going to demand a contract like even Dre Greenlaw, but like a veteran guy, Kaiser White, if you will, A guy, Jamie and Sherwood he's an ascending player that I really like.
He just resigned, actually, Keith. I just got the update not too long ago. He resigned with the Jets.
Oh, rats.
I know.
He had probably his best game of the year against the Dolphins last year. He's
a hell of a year.
He's a good young player.
Yes, he is.
But a guy like that, a guy who can, spell the starters. I think the Dolphins are going to bring Tyrell Dotson back. I think they're going to bring Anthony Walker back. They're going to probably keep the linebacker room somewhat intact. But they released David Long. They released him. He was terrible for the Dolphins. Like, missed tackles all over the place. Maybe he wasn't a scheme fit or whatever, but they kind of, after releasing Long, they struggled to really solidify that linebacker position next to Jordan Brooks. Tyrell Dotson, like I said, they just need another guy to come in and compete. So you bring in a guy on a 1 year, $3 or $4 million contract, maybe draft another guy in the latter rounds. That's where I think the Dolphins are probably going to be most comfortable.
Yeah, there's definitely some guys out there for 1 year contracts that aren't going to be too expensive for you. Jake, I don't know if you had anybody. I mean, again, this is another position the Bills are in a good place. I mean, right now we got Joe Andreessen, we got Dorian Williams, Edafwan Uwafosho, what is it? Ulofosho, who is going to be, I think he's up and coming. I think you're going to see a lot more from him this year. We got Balin Spector, Mr. Injury Prone. We still got Terrell Bernard, of course, and then Matt Milano, who actually started to show up towards the end of the year, really starting to get back to his form. So we're in a good place here. I don't expect us to do anything. Maybe, I don't know, 7th round pick if someone's out there, 6th round pick. But honestly, Jake, I don't see us making any moves here at the linebacker.
I don't think so either. I think you add through the draft there, but just some other names for you, Keith. Bobby Spillane, I mean, really good linebacker.
Yeah.
Played with the Raiders and the Steelers prior to that. Good player. Honestly, kind of similar to Andrew Van Ginkel a little bit. Bring him back. Bring that type of vibe back, right?
Yeah. It hurts seeing him tear it up in Minnesota last year.
Man, he is so damn good, man.
He is.
Yeah. Bobby Spillane, though. Robert Spillane, good player. Eric Kendricks, I think, is a free agent, too, I want to say. I don't know if he resigned with Dallas.
Yes, he is. $4 million 1 year.
And Tyrell Dotson is a free agent right now. He's a guy I'd like to see the Dolphins bring back. Right now it's Anthony Walker and it's Jordan Brooks, and that's not going to be good enough. They were tossed. The Dolphins could go after like a Zach Bond before the Eagles re-signed him. And I don't know. This is another position where I don't know that I would have wanted to pay what Zach Bond, eventually got from the Philadelphia Eagles, but they just need a little bit more in that room.
Yeah, it's interesting. The linebackers, I mean, you look at the top guys available, pretty much all of them have been re-signed. Like Ernest Jones, Bobby Wagner was re-signed. Zach Bond, as you mentioned.
Levante David was re-signed.
What's the deal with Dre Greenlaw? Is he?
So Dre Greenlaw, he of course tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl. Didn't come back until midway through the season, and you could tell his explosiveness just wasn't where you needed it to be. It's not to say he can't get that back, because he's only 28 years old, right? So, he can get that back potentially, but are you willing to give him a big contract and bet on him getting that back? That's the biggest thing. I don't know that I am. Again, we don't really have the money to waste on a guy where it's like, well, hopefully he rounds back into form.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's such a shame, man. I mean, he was a difference maker in that Super Bowl. You go back 2 years ago now, and that injury just really, it was rough.
Yeah. It's running on the field and tears his Achilles. That's brutal. It's absolutely brutal, and I feel it for the guy. I think he's going to get, probably a 1 year, $10 million prove-it deal from a team this offseason, and it just shouldn't be from the Dolphins.
Yeah. PFF's got him like they're projecting $6 million, but I could see him going.
Oh, 6. Okay.
So he played 34 snaps last year, and PFF for those 34 snaps was 84, 82 grade, but he's a good. I mean, if you got the money to take a risk, high risk, high reward type thing right there. But yeah, I hear you, Keith. You can't at this point. You guys just can't settle or take that type of chance.
Yeah.
AJ Klein is always there on the couch or on vacation.
He's like on an RV trip or something somewhere. The Bills. That's a hilarious story that the Bills went and approached him and were like, "Hey, you want to come back and play for us?" And he's like, "I'm just about to go on vacation on an RV trip." Hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, guys, it's been an hour and 39. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Again, those rewatching us, I'd love to hear you guys throw some for all the position groups, or maybe there's a position group we missed that you think the Bills really need. But of all the groups that we talked about, throw some of your guys out there, some of your targets. It's going to be absolutely crazy. I can't wait. Starts tomorrow, I think. What is it? Noon Eastern, where the
right.
tampering starts. So watch out, and you're going to see things coming across the social media left and right.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have a Discord. It's free. And if you want to get probably information before anyone else,
just
jump
follow
into
Weston.
just
this
jump
guy
into
right
the
here, Weston
Discord.
Brewster, our insider.
Yeah, he's our
Boom.
insider, man. This guy, I don't know where he gets his material, but it's all good stuff. And yeah, he's usually ahead of everybody else. Multiple team bidding war projected. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Cody, too, you want to talk about, draft prep and stuff like that. This dude is watching like 40 hours of film.
Yeah.
Probably more than that a week. It's a full-time job for this guy. So he is all about ball. He'll give you that. He'll give you the free agent projections. Fantastic stuff. Love it. And you're
Weston.
right. Yes.
Weston always likes to bring this up. So yes, this is a good opportunity here. We are going to collaborate with the Fins forecast on this year's NFL draft. We're going to be live first round, and we're going to be live second round, and we're going to be streaming to both channels. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Can't wait to do that.
Yeah.
And Weston always likes to bring this up because when he announced that it was going to be Keon Coleman, I don't think I said that many no's. I mean, a little exaggerated. No. I did something like that. Love you, Keon. Love you. Have a great year this year.
Yeah.
But yes, so was sort of my reaction when that draft pick came in. Keith, where are you guys sitting at? What's your pick in the first?
So we're drafting 13th overall in the first. I'm obviously hoping for an offensive guard, a Kelvin Banks and Armand Membu. Ooh. I loved his performance at the combine. But again, if the Dolphins, go hard at offensive guard and free agency to get the best player available. But the great thing is, about us collaborating with you guys, we'll be live for both nights, first through third rounds, and we'll analyze all the picks of all the teams and all the players, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Tyler Warren, Weston says, yeah, trust me, he's a guy that's on my radar. That guy is Travis Kelce 2.0.
Dude, him and Jonnu would be insane.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean, wow.
Man.
I don't want to think about that.
See, Keith, even though we're a Bills channel, you're getting some good information here tonight.
Absolutely.
Pass that on to ownership.
Tyler Booker, what do we think, Keith?
What's that?
Tyler Booker?
Alabama. So, yeah, Tyler Booker, I like. Tyler Booker is potentially not a scheme fit for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
He, they like to run the zone scheme. He's not
body on body, just maul you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here when I say I want Mekhi Becton at right guard, and then I don't want, Tyler Booker. Look, if the Dolphins draft him, I will be happy because they're finally addressing a position of need that's been a position of need for feels like a decade now. So next Chop Robinson reaction, yeah. So I didn't react well to that pick last year.
I almost got it right. I was almost going to bet on him to be player of the year. I'm glad I didn't bet. He didn't get it, but still, the fact that he was up for it.
You were much closer to being right than I was, Mike. I guess this is the portion of the show where you both get to point at your cameras, throw your heads back and laugh at my expense because I was so wrong about that pick.
We're always we're in the same boat. I mean, it's crazy how wrong we are. And like for instance, Jake and I hate to even say this, but Jake and I were all over Kyrie Elam. That was our
Yep.
guy in the first round. That was our dude. Not so much.
Yeah.
We weren't too right there. Anyhow, listen up, everybody. I want to thank you for your time. Hour and 44 minutes. It's going to be crazy. Again, join the Discord if you can. We love to talk sports all week long. Any sport, we pretty much talk, but obviously football is going to be a big topic this next few days. So, and does Brandon Bean have Beach's phone
I
number?
hope so.
Please,
for
we're going to
our
make another
sakes.
this draft. We're going to make another deal with the Chiefs. It's just the thing we do. Anyone, have a good night. And man, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Thank you, Keith, for joining us tonight. I can't wait to join you guys on draft night. Jake, as always, and I love the sweatshirt. By the way, I gotta get me more of those.
I got you, Mike. Listen, I talked to my cousin this past weekend. We're gonna make it happen. We're making it happen.
Awesome. Let's see.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Steve. Says I always enjoy the show. It's been a while since I've been able to catch a live show. That's awesome, Steve. I am off to St. Worth, Texas this week to cook. That's right, Steve.
That is awesome.
We exchanged emails once back and forth. We got to get a time to come on and do the steak show. How to cook a great steak. He's number 2. Is that number 2 in the world, Steve, or number 2 in the country? We're the number 2 steak cook. Let's make this happen. Let's make this happen. Everyone needs to know how to make a perfect steak. I'm sure we all have our own recipes. Mine's hit or miss. It's 50-50. I don't know, Jake. Do you have that perfect cook now? You have it down pat?
I'd like to think so. I don't know though. We'll get the real judgment from Steve.
Well, I'll say this: I don't. So if you guys get Steve on for that, I will be all ears. I will be tuned in.
Hell yeah!
I'm serious. We're doing it because we do. It's all about Buffalo and then some. And I've made some food videos. We're doing another one. We're talking top 8 wing places coming out soon. So especially in the off season, got to make some food shows. And Steve, come on. Let us know. Let us know when you're available. And good luck in the SCA World Championship. All right, everyone. That's it. Take care. See you soon. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Fins up.